You can't mega scale a home service business if you're running every single sale and inbound call yourself as the owner. But most owners hire their sales reps too early, they pay them too little, they don't compensate them on performance and better performance, and then they wonder why they're bleeding money and hiring another salesperson every 3 months. Or the alternative is they wait too long, they do the sales themselves, and then years go by and their company grows by like 5% or 10% year over year, when it probably could have grown a lot bigger than that. I built sales teams for multiple businesses, home service businesses, and virtual businesses that allow me to bring in new customers at a high close rate without me getting on calls myself as the owner. Today, I'm going to walk through exactly what I look for out of sales reps, how I hire them, how I interview them, and then how I try to compensate them in a way that incentivizes them to be a dog. So let's begin. Let's start with when to know you're ready and what to look for. Spoiler alert, if you don't have a bookkeeper and you don't know exactly where every cent is going month over month in your business, you need to start there. Because in order for you to bring on a new position that you were not paying for before, you have to know whether your business can afford it. But if you're just guesstimating like I did 4 or 5 years ago, when I just brought in some sales reps, gave them a flat percentage and thought, I can afford that, you're going to leave a ton of revenue on the table, but more importantly, you're going to leave a lot of profit on the table because you're probably going to overcompensate them for bad performance. So here's a checklist of things that you absolutely have to have in order before you even think about hiring a salesperson. You have to have your accounting and financial modeling dialed in with a bookkeeper. 2, you have to have a documented and scripted sales process. Do not let sales reps just sell the way they sell when they're coming into your business. Sure, there's different nuances to it. Some people are funnier. Some people have like a little bit more direct sales process, but that's different. Tonality and the way that they navigate conversationally with people is different than them selling their way because they think better than you as the owner. If you have inconsistent sales scripts and processes among different salespeople in your business, you'll never be able to truly know if your sales process is working or not because it's probably getting geared towards the performance of an individual contributor and not the actual system you've created in your team. The next one is speed to appointment. If leads are coming in on Monday and your sales team, whether it's you doing sales or you have one salesperson, isn't able to get out to estimates or quotes until Wednesday or Thursday, you need to hire another salesperson because we know the math. The more time that goes between when they say, yes, I want an appointment, and when you can get out there, the more time you're giving your competitors to weasel their little noses into your opportunities. And so that's number one. Another way to look at this is if you have good lead volume and you have an operations team and an installation or fulfillment team that is working really hard but still is lagging, like you're selling jobs and then doing them as fast as possible to keep them busy, then you probably need to add more firepower to your systems. Either A, it's a marketing problem, or B, most likely you need another salesperson or one salesperson that's not you to go out and start selling more of these jobs so that we can book them and get the fulfillment team more jobs to actually install. Because I can promise you, if you're taking 5 or 6 or 7 days to get back to people and get estimates, and then they're taking 5 or 6 days to get back to you, and now your sales process has gone from what should be 3 to 5 days to now like 15 to 20 days, you're leaving so much money on the table just by not shortening the window and the amount of time it takes for you to give them the answers, knowing that they'll kick their feet and do whatever. But you internally can control what you can control. And the more you can consolidate that, the more excited the prospects will be and the quicker your sales will turn around. And so now we're like, where do I go to find the salespeople? Now, some people might disagree with this, but I actually think some of the best salespeople in home services can be guys that were doing fulfillment that are pretty good customer facing. What happens when you're hiring your first or second sales guy, if they don't have any experience on your jobs, is they're really bad at building quotes and understanding what the fulfillment's going to actually look like. And so one of the things that we did is Kyle, our main sales rep, has actually been on a ton of teardowns and a ton of installs. And so when he's out selling stuff, he actually knows what he's signing the installers and the team that's actually doing fulfillment up for. And so the mistakes that he makes on quoting are way less than the previous sales reps that we used to have. His average ticket is better because he knows exactly how to measure everything and he knows what's a perceived value to customers and what's like a no-brainer have to have on every job. But then more importantly, he's better at training new sales reps because he's decent at the fulfillment side and he's informed on the fulfillment side, but he's also a good sales rep. So that's one way you can do it if you're building a sales team from scratch. The other way is you can go on hiring boards and find people with relevant home service selling experience. The issue with this, and this is why I say sometimes you might be better off hiring and creating your own monster from within, is good sales reps aren't looking for jobs. Good sales reps make the most in most companies, and because they make the most in most companies, they're not going to leave. And so what do you have to look through and sift through on job boards in most cases, you have 100 absolute dog shit candidates and maybe 1 or 2 decent ones that you found at the right place at the right time that are in between jobs. And so my model of hiring from within on the fulfillment side and converting them to sales works really well if you're smaller, but at scale, eventually you're just gonna have to go into job boards, Facebook job listings, Indeed, and then you're gonna have to find people there. And so for us, making a job posting is really easy. I made a video about how to make sales training SOPs using AI when we trained our salespeople. You can make your job posting based on what the responsibilities are in the standard operating procedures that you've already built to train salespeople. What they're trained to do, what they're trained not to do, what is expected of them is the job posting. So now that's really easy. You take that job posting, you put it on job boards. Now let me just let you down easy and tell you the harsh truth. We get probably 100 applicants and sift through about 50 or 60 of their resumes right away. So now let's say for easy numbers, we had 40 people that we said were decent. Now we're trying to schedule a 5 to 10 minute phone screen with them before we do a formal interview. Of that phone screen, about half of them no show. That leaves me with about 20 people. And of the 20 people that get on these phone screens, 10 of them are complete morons that can't even string together a full sentence. So now we've sifted out there. Now we have 10 that we actually want to formally interview. Of the 10 that get on the interview process, likely 5 to 7 of them, we find something drastically wrong with their experience. Either they grossly exaggerated their sales experience. Let me give you an example. We were hiring a sales rep for Home Service Accelerator the other day because I don't do the sales calls there because I practice what I preach. The person said they had high-level appointment booking training, like appointment setting training, and sales training. We asked for further clarification on the sales call. Turned out she was a hostess at a restaurant, and that's what she was saying was her appointment setting training was people called into the restaurant, she answered the phone and booked the appointments. But you can make that sound really pretty on a resume, and so that's what I'm saying is like you have to really get into it with these salespeople and see what their actual experience was. And so the good thing for you guys to understand is when we talk about volume in terms of marketing, if you want to get more leads, you just have to do so much more volume than you think you need to. The same thing happens with hiring. You don't just interview 5 people and find a winner. You have like hundreds of applicants, you sift through it, you have a process, and then eventually you find 1 or 2 good ones. The boomers and the old hags that say nobody wants to work anymore. No, nobody wants to work for you. I have a seasonal business, a business that they can't even make money year round in most of the time. We still fill roles. That's because I overcompensate salespeople, I overcompensate employees because I charge enough to be able to pay my employees a living wage. So if you like the breakdown of my processes, how I hire sales reps, and you want a little bit more hands-on support on the marketing and systems of your business, you can join Home Service Accelerator. I put a link in the description for you to apply below. And if you want a little bit more hands-on help, you can check it out there. But now let's talk about how should you compensate them. This is why I say accounting is super important. Your compensation structure needs to incentivize them to go above and beyond. And so the baseline of your job posting should be OTE, is on target earnings. So all salespeople should have targets that they need to hit. If you do not have strict performance-based guidelines for salespeople to hit, you are going to have terrible salespeople. And if people interviewing for your sales roles don't ask for these metrics and ask what is the absolute most I can make from this position, that's a red flag. And so some of you guys like roofers and other people like that can get away with doing just commission only. I get away with doing just commission only because we've been in business for long enough that we kind of know, and there's like enough word of mouth around town that like working for us doesn't suck. We give a commission. And the way I calculated how to know how much to give these sales reps in commission is I looked at all of our margins and I looked at, okay, here's our gross profit, here's our net margin at the end of the day. If you don't have a sales rep prior, you have to understand that like if you're adding a sales rep commission to your expenses, that's actually going to come out largely from your bottom line because it's a new expense. So if you've been used to doing the sales yourself and then you go, I'm going to give somebody 10% of everything that they sell, you're giving them 10% of everything they sell, which is the revenue number. But if that bill didn't exist before and they sell the exact same amount that you used to sell, that's a 10% hit to your profit margin. If you were a 30% margin business and you just lost 10% of your margin, you just took a huge chunk out of your profitability. But the idea is you get the sales rep in and all they do is sales. They should get you way more sales on the top line number. Thus, you can raise prices or do anything else like that to mitigate the damage that happens to the bottom line. And I can't sit here on a YouTube video and tell you on the other side of the camera how you should compensate your sales teams because I don't know the margins of your business. I don't know your average tickets. I don't know the individual nuances. So I'll share with you how I compensate and then you guys can go from there. I give my sales reps on new business 6% of total revenue sold. That's the new lead came in 2026. He sold it. He gets 6% of that revenue. Then I give them performance kickers based based on a certain time period. If they sell a certain amount that will help us hit our revenue goals within a 30-day period, they get a $500 kicker. And then if they get above that and hit this next tier, usually our tiers are in increments of 50,000. And if they get to the next tier, they get another performance-based kicker. And then on top of that, there's other facets of the business that they can also get commission on, but I don't want to compensate them the same way. So here's an example. If we sold somebody for $2,000 in the 2025 season, and now they want to renew for 2026, one of the mistakes I made was I gave them the 6% commission again on the renewal. That doesn't make sense because that means that I'm not getting any advantage as a business to the repeat business that happens after the first year. So they get paid 6% on the initial year, and then they get 10% of whatever additional upsells they do the next year. And so if that customer was $2,000 last year, and then he goes out to that customer and says, "Ooh, you should do this tree as well," and it gets to $2,800, he does not get the commission on the $2,000. He gets a flat, smaller dollar amount for renewing them. It's like $50 a job. And then he gets 10% of the newly upsold business, because I know as a business owner that when that customer comes back in year 2 and year 3, my customer acquisition costs are nothing compared to year 1. I didn't have an ad spend to get them into the system again. My closer commission is lower, and my actual installation team will be way more efficient because we already have the job dialed in and we know exactly what to do on the job. And so I take what was a bad shake for my business, which was 6% flat rate commission on renewals when they're not doing any work to get the renewal. The office can renew them. And then I gave my salespeople a higher commission on upsells, which makes the business way more profitable and the sales reps way more excited, because if they upsell someone into a higher tier, they turn a $2,000 job into a $5,000 job, they make a crazy good commission. And so if you see how I'm compensating my guys, you can see one of the things I do is I compensate them in a way that gets them out of bed and gets them going. I do not want to give commission for something that the office staff could have done over the phone in a 30-second phone call. I give bigger commissions and higher commission structures for tasks that requires the salesperson to get up, get out, and sell hard. I don't need to give commissions for returning business or anything like that. And so you can take this same process and actually compensate your office staff if you're a virtual sales team as well. For example, if you're like a junk removal or window cleaning business and you just sell over the phone all day long because your average tickets are like $200, $300, $400, you can give a compensation structure to your office staff. One exercise a lot of you guys should do if you have businesses like that is you should see how many calls is the office staff taking per day or per week, and then what is their inbound lead call to booked in-person rate on the phone. And then what you should try doing is you should try giving them a $5 bonus for every appointment they make, or for every 5 appointments that you book, you get $10. So then it actually ends up being only $2 per appointment. But you guys get what I'm saying. Add some form of performance-based incentive to the employee that is your first touch on the phone, or your sales reps, that compensate them on moving the business's revenue number forward, not just doing their job just enough so they don't get fired. Who do you think is going to be more jolly on the phones with inbound leads? Receptionist A, who just gets $15 an hour no matter what and doesn't get compensated for every booked appointment they make? Or receptionist B, who gets a $10 Chick-fil-A gift card for every 5 appointments they book, or for every 3 appointments they book? Receptionist B, because that's going to mean that now I've created something that incentivizes that receptionist to perform better, not just be baseline C minus, just good enough to not get fired. And what you want to do with salespeople is do that same thing. And so if you know what the baseline on target earnings you need for the sales rep to be profitable in the business, compensate them higher for everything they do over that baseline. Give them a higher percentage cut of when they overperform their quota. That's like a very good way to not get over your skis as a business owner, because you know the baseline, and then you can give them kickers or some form of bonuses on top of that when they exceed their sales quota. And so if you think about it, you have to know your accounting and your numbers to know if you can afford to hire a sales rep. You also need to know your numbers to know how much to pay the sales rep. And then you also need to understand how to compensate them for higher performance and try not to pay as much for them being a C minus rep. And that's what you do with quotas and on target earning bonuses. And I'll leave you with this. If you are hiring a sales rep and they are demanding a high base and you have a good compensation structure, run. Because sales reps should want to have uncapped commission for performance. And if you explain to somebody like, hey, I can give you an uncapped commission if you just sell a lot, versus the person demanding a $100,000 base, and so now you're out $100,000 a year, not knowing whether they're ever going to make a sale or not, it would be in your best interest to hire sales reps that want uncapped commission, because uncapped commission is naturally going to attract somebody who in their subconscious and conscious mind knows that they want to go make sales and make a lot of them. So I'm sure some of you watch this, you're like, dude, I don't even know if I can afford a sales rep, or I don't even know how to compensate them. A lot of the value in Home Service Accelerator Pro is getting around myself and a lot of other home service business owners who have gone and done this exact same thing that you're doing. So outside of us helping you run your Facebook ads, outside of us helping you do your Google Maps SEO and setting up your text message automations and all of that, a huge portion of Home Service Accelerator Pro is the community aspect to take whatever questions you just asked yourself during this video and take them to somebody that might actually be in your trade, or take them to myself in the group call setting or something like that to help you actually build this out for yourself and your business. So if you want to join Home Service Accelerator Pro, you can click the link in the description, or you can click the link in the top of the comments. Otherwise, I hope this video helped you guys wrap your heads around how you should hire and things you should look for when you're hiring a sales team. If it did, comment what you liked, comment what you don't like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.